Hello again, everybody. Sparkster11701 here, and today we're going to take a look at a Micromaster. This is the Micromaster Transport Aerial Defense Unit Roughstuff. Roughstuff is a Decepticon, and he does sort of fit in well with it, with the military motif here that his aircraft sort of resembles here. Now, of course, he is in two pieces. First is Roughstuff himself here in the back, and the rest is his airplane. So we're going to separate the two, and we'll take a look at Roughstuff himself first. This is Roughstuff. And as you can see, he more or less will become some sort of truck, since he's carrying most of the components for it on his back predominantly, so that's a bit of a disappointment. But unlike many of the other Micromaster toys, he is a unique original, so kind of take the good with the bad. He is somewhat limited on his articulation, in the fact that he can move his head up and down. His arms can be put up about so far, or go all the way down. He can move his legs here at the hips, and he can move his feet at the ankle. Unfortunately, since his legs and feet are all in one piece, they are not allowed for independent motion, so that does limit what you can do with him. And we'll take a look here at his airplane. And as you can see, he is pretty well armed for a Decepticon warrior, with a pair of missiles here on the wingtips, a dual cannon here that does elevate, so you get some action with it, and a larger cannon supposedly here at the front, but looks more like just a simple nose cone. Probably the more amazing fact is that it's all controlled with this steering bar here in the center, which does angle for simulated flight control. But the one thing that should also be noted is, like some of the early Lego space sets, this thing has no real visible means of propulsion. Roughstuff here appeared in the toy line in 1989 and would also be available in 1990 and would be discontinued with the end of the toy line. Now, let's take a look at how to transform Roughstuff. We'll start with the robot. To transform him, you would fold and make sure his arms are folded down. Then you fold down his head so it's flat. Lay his feet out flat like this, and then swing his legs up at the hip, and he becomes some unknown form of military semi-truck, which does look kind of intimidating from this angle. The slopes on the front are a nice touch, and he does have the detail for the doors. Unfortunately, if you look at him from the back side, he's not quite as impressive, since you can clearly see his head. For his airplane, first thing we need to do is you fold down the steering bar. It doesn't fold totally flat, so it will be slightly raised, but that's how it's supposed to be. As you can see here, it is slightly raised. It's not laying flat. Remove the blue and black gun in the front, fold the nose piece in, and it will lay flat in there. Then you take the gun again and mount it here on the back side, and then just fold up the wings. They do ratchet, and you have a missile trailer of unspecified origin, so it's quite possibly made up. But it does look like it could possibly be a surface-to-surface or surface-to-air defense weapon. There's a little hole here down at the bottom. Get it at an angle that you can see it. This hole right here is what connects to the post here on Roughstuff's feet. Now we throw him on the floor, let's pick him back up. We just pop him in like that. And there you go. One missile trailer. Sort of a unique alternate mode, and one of the few missile trailers that was available in the MicroMaster line until the Autobot missile launcher that would come out the following year. Let's take a look at all the loose parts that Roughstuff has, and he does have quite a few for a toy like him, possibly the most out of all of the MicroMaster trailer sets. First and the most obvious would be Roughstuff himself. A little trailer, a little truck here with little tiny wheels. They do turn, but unfortunately by now they are plastic, like the Micro Machine wheels that these guys were competing against. We also got his trailer. This is how it looks without any of the attachments in it. It also has fake plastic wheels. The only thing you'll have to watch for is that some people do try to remove the nose piece in here. It is not meant to be taken out, so always kind of keep an eye on that because it might be damaged. The wings are also not meant to be removed. But one thing that it does have that can be removed easily is the steering bar. As you can see, it's connected in by these two tiny posts here at the top and bottom of it. So always make sure those are still intact. So those connect in here to these knobs and holes on the sides of the trailer. Another frequently lost piece is the gun, which is referred to in the instructions as a missile turret. And to me, it just looks more like your standard anti-aircraft cannon. And as mentioned earlier, the barrels do pivot on this thing, and they do pivot quite a degree here, so you can get a lot of range of motion out of this, but the way it's positioned on the toy, some of it just really doesn't work. I mean, you can't have it all the way down or it's going to shoot the nose off the plane. And if you have it all the way back up, there's a chance he's going to blow his own head off. And lastly, we have two of these missiles. Unfortunately, they're not very well detailed since they're sculpted in with all these holes in it. They attach by a simple post here at the bottom into the holes on the wings of the toy. One thing you'll have to be careful with these is that they do wear out over time, so constantly removing them will cause them to loosen up and eventually just swivel independently when he's played with. Alright, at this point we're going to take a look at Roughstuff's Cardbacker, which we happen to have right here. This is the back of his card package, which, when you get up close here, it shows the loose parts, but it only shows the Roughstuff MicroMaster and the trailer. It's as you go through the instructions here that it reveals, like here on this step, about the missile turret being removable. Right here it shows how you transform Roughstuff. The instructions in here show you having Roughstuff sitting down in the aircraft, whereas there really isn't any room for that. Well, let's try it anyways, just to see if he will sit. Well, he can sit down there and present himself with a lower profile, but I don't know. It just doesn't really look right. In reality, right down here, there is a post that connects to this hole in his feet and he just stands on it. I think that looks just a little bit better, but it does make him a little bit of a higher target, provided you got somebody that can shoot better than he can. We'll cover that in a moment. And then here at the end of the tech spec, they still talk about the robot points, despite the fact that by now the mailaways had ceased on the Transformers. Down here is his robot point, and as you can see, he was worth 1 robot point. This version of his Cardbacker, as you can see down here at the bottom, was made and released in the UK, which I want to show a possible variation. I don't know if it also carried over here to the United States, but something to keep an eye out on is on the front of the Cardbacker. This section in here is colored green where the toy was placed. But there are also versions of the Cardbacker where there is no green. So, makes for an interesting variation to the toy. We'll flip it around here and we'll take a look at Roughstuff's tech spec. As you can see, this was done in the new style of tech spec, which eliminated the use for the tech spec decoders. Guess they were getting too expensive for Hasbro to keep making them. Right here it has a picture of Roughstuff. It's the same one as here on the front of the card. It lists his faction as Decepticon and gives his name as Roughstuff. His function is aerial defense, and his motto is shoot first, aim later. A trigger-happy sniper, never aims, just starts blasting. Even Decepticons run for cover when he joins the battle. Trailer equipped with anti-aircraft, plasma pulse gun battery, and 2 heat-seeking proton missiles. Transforms to atomic-powered fighter jet and mobile battle platform with side-mounted rocket launchers and top-mounted Gatling gun. Nose cone emits high-intensity heat ray that liquefies metal on contact. Also equipped with suborbital capabilities. So this more or less describes him as a moving and flying attack weapon. Although I think the descriptions of the weapons does get a little outlandish, especially to describe this as a plasma cannon on the trailer, but then suddenly becomes a Gatling gun for the flying mode. Roughstuff seems to continue a trend that was started 2 years prior with some of the Target Masters in the forms of Misfire and Trigger Happy as being gun-toting maniacs that will blast at anything and have extremely poor aim. The More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks also describes Roughstuff as being so bad of a shot that he has been relegated well into the back echelons of the troops in the hopes of keeping him away from any frontline battles. So now he'll shoot at just about anything that moves. Getting back to his tech specs, you can see on here that his strength is 7, his intelligence and speed are 4, his endurance is 8, his rank is 6, his courage is 6, his firepower is 9, and his skill is 5. So it puts him at about average for how useful he is. His endurance and firepower make him pretty tough, as well as his strength, but slow speed and low intelligence definitely makes him probably about as dangerous to the Decepticons as he is to the Autobots. And this concludes my review of the G1 Aerial Defense Decepticon Roughstuff. If you liked the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. That's what keeps this channel going. This is Sparkster1701 saying catch y'all later.